Across our nation, construction is on the rise. Every year, there are new developments in the industry designed to increase safety, reduce costs, and improve environmental efficiency. Increasingly, builders look to construction materials to achieve these results. Insulation plays a big part in a structure's overall power plan. Today, contractors, as well as consumers, are demanding more from this energy-saving material.
Consumers look for two things from their insulation. One is energy efficiency, which gives them low or at least reasonable utility bills, and also comfort.
There are two primary types of insulation, made from two completely different substances. The most commonly known is made from fiberglass. Sheets of cotton candy-like material are laid in the walls and roofs of buildings. The other popular form of insulation, called cellulose, comes mainly from recycled newspaper. It is applied as a spray.
Special machinery changes newspaper back to material similar to its original wood fibers. These fibers are permanently treated with chemical fire retardants, which significantly improves the fire safety of buildings. This process creates an insulating material that's safe and has 85% recycled content.
The purpose of insulation is to keep the energy costs down, and also it provides a fire retardant for the structure. We also like cellulose due to its safety factor for the installer and for the home. Those are the main criteria we look for when we're choosing insulation for our contract.
Cellulose insulation also differs in structure from traditional fiberglass material. Rather than being formed into sheets that may not fit perfectly between wood or metal framing, cellulose conforms to any space because it's sprayed on, filling in any small cracks. The material's density limits air infiltration, which adds to the fire retardant quality.
Made with 100% recycled paper, Cocoon is treated with fire retardants that actually exceed fire test requirements by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. It has a Class 1 fire rating and is not flammable when tested for smoldering and combustion. With the assistance of the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, the University of Maryland recently conducted a test to determine how insulation affects the burning time of a house.
We have ignition. So the purpose of the demonstration is to show relative fire performance characteristics of three buildings, one without insulation, two with insulation, one being fiberglass, and the other being cellulose.
All buildings were ignited on the first floor simultaneously. The structure with no insulation collapsed first at 40 minutes. And the fiberglass structure collapsed just 3 minutes, 20 seconds later. The building insulated with Cocoon, however, continued to resist the fire, standing for 68 minutes, 20 seconds. In the unfortunate event of a fire, cellulose gives you and your family 63% more time than fiberglass to leave your house safely. Cocoon cellulose insulation is a soundproofing material. It helps create a quieter home environment.
Another feature that you get with the Cocoon system is a lot more noise reduction from any outside noises. Okay. What we've done is we've put together a little display for you, the insulation that we use in a little canister. Now, what we find is that if we take this right here, now this is extremely loud, okay, but by putting this in there, you're going to see how this performs.
Wow. I'm impressed, Todd.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
The soundproof quality of Cocoon is due to its density, 2 to 3 times greater than similar fiberglass products, and its ability to fill any cavity into which it is properly installed.
When you realize that about 25% of your entire heating and cooling load on your house is for air infiltration, it's important that you close some of that. If you take the average house and add all the places up where air coming in, it's about like having a window or door wide open. Oh, by the way, no air, no fire.
Protecting the environment has become a major issue for the construction industry. Builders realize that many of today's environmentally correct options are fiscally favorable as well. What was once the choice of a few concerned citizens has become the norm for a society now focused on preserving what we have left.
Cellulose insulation is a fast-growing industry because when the consumers learn that their house can be more fireproof, more soundproof, and have lower utility bills, they want it. So instead of sending newspapers to the landfill, they simply make cellulose insulation.
Many of our contractors ask for cellulose product, and we feel that the Cocoon cellulose product is one of the best products on the market today.
Insulation is a key component to the energy efficiency and comfort of every home. And since walls account for 1/3 to 1/2 of the total surface area of a house, it's really important that those walls get insulated well. Today, we're going to look at cellulose insulation, and with me is Doug Schmidt from U.S. Green Fiber. Doug, what is cellulose and what's in it?
Cellulose is 100% recycled newspaper fiber. It's treated with borates and has an adhesive added to make it stick in the wall.
And what are the borates for?
The borates are a fire retardant.
Now, the equipment that you use to put this in, is that the same equipment as used to blow insulation in attics, or is it different?
Yes, it's the same. It's just adapted. We have it adapted with 4-inch hose going to a 2.5-inch hose, which runs into the house. And we have a wall spray nozzle, which injects the water into the material and makes it adhere to the walls.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you have borate that you put in this to help it be fire resistant, and I understand you've got a demonstration that can show us how well this stuff works in terms of resisting flame and fire.
Yes, I do, Steve. If you'll use the torch for me, I'd like you to heat up this penny. Torch burns at approximately 1,700 degrees, and we're going to show you that this product won't burn, and my hand won't burn with it.
The penny's actually melting.
The penny's melting, and we have no combustion on the flame. It'll protect your house for the entire life.
Well, let's go take a look and see how you install cellulose insulation and how you get a good installation job. A house is a system, and an important part of that system is wall insulation. Today we're in Stockton, California, and we're going to show you some tips and techniques for spray applying cellulose insulation to walls. With me is Rick Chitwood, who is owner of Chitwood Energy Management Services. And Rick, it's pretty important to get a good job when you do this. It's fairly simple to do it, but what are some things we should look for to get a good insulation job when dealing with spray cellulose?
It is very important to install it properly. Minor installation defects can reduce the performance of wall insulation up to 50%, typically in the range between 20 and 50%. So it's very important to look for 3 things to assess the performance. The first thing is the insulation must be in contact with the air barrier on both the outside and the inside. So once the drywall is installed, it's important that the insulation touches both of those.
Fully fill the cavity, in other words.
Exactly. The second thing is we don't want any voids or gaps, any air spaces in the cavity. And then the third thing is we want to make sure that the insulation isn't compressed at too high of a density.
Now, what density should we be putting this in here at? How do I know I got enough insulation in the walls to make sure it's doing the job that we want it to do?
Well, the system's fairly immune to installation defects. If they put too much water, too little water, it may not even stay in the cavity or it'll be too wet. So as they spray it in, the system is very good at applying the proper amount of moisture and density.
You know, because if it's sticking to the surface and not falling off, it's not too wet or too dry. Now, I have some here. I was under the impression, and I think many people are, that this actually is a lot wetter than it is, but this is really pretty dry.
It is. It comes out of the bag near bone dry, and then they add about 25% moisture as it's applied in the wall.
And the adhesive that makes this stuff stick is a non-toxic type adhesive?
Yes, it is.
Now, what are some other things we want to look for as we're actually applying this material? I mean, it looks to me like it might be difficult to get this in behind some of the pipes and so forth. Any techniques?
With the wall spray system, it's fairly easy to make sure that the cavity is fairly filled. They can easily angle the nozzle to spray behind pipes, behind electrical outlets. There's several areas that are typically difficult, things like electrical outlets. Behind you is the big tub in the master bathroom.
Yeah.
They were even able to spray behind it and make sure that that hard-to-insulate area was done very well.
You know, it didn't take them any time at all to do it. They filled that area up pretty quickly. Rick, all homes have unique framing conditions. How well does spray cellulose work in those situations?
The system works really well at all the hard-to-insulate areas. Behind you, there's a narrow stud cavity. And the system works great at filling narrow cavities such as this from the back clear to the front and making sure that there's no gaps or voids. Other difficult to insulate areas such as rim joists are easily filled completely with the spray applied cellulose system.
And they're usually pretty tough areas to insulate.
They are. This home actually has a third hard to insulate area. There's a round turret in the entryway that would be normally very hard to insulate, and this system takes care of an area like that really well.